So today I'm going to talk to you about pressing plants, which is what I do with most of my specimens, not all of them, but most of them. If you look in the book, you'll see various examples of places where you can see that I've arranged plants on a page, with dissections and different parts and cut leaves. And that's something that I do when I'm arranging my pages anyway. There's another one on page 56, it's 55 and 56 there. And there's an example of where I've taken it apart and arranged the leaves and the stipules and the petals, flowers and the whole stem together, and it makes quite an attractive composition like that. And so I try to arrange them like that and press them at the same time. And I've used just a small example. There's not a lot about this, but it mentions pressing them here like a herbarium sheet. So in effect I create my own little herbarium for reference. It's not really a herbarium, it's just my own little record of what I've painted. And even if you're not considering yourself to be that much of an artist, it's something that you can do anyway. Anybody can do this. Anybody can press some plants from the garden and make records. Now what that can help you with though is with composition, as you can see here. So what I've done here with this Celine, which is one that I painted in the sketchbook, obviously they lose the colour over time, but some more than others, but a lot of it's retained. So you can do colour studies at the time from life, but you've got actually a really nice little layout here that you could possibly use towards an actual illustration in a sketchbook or elsewhere, like a botanical illustration. We've got a section of the top of the stem there showing how the flowers are arranged. We can see how the leaves are arranged here opposite the stem. And then we've got this sort of branching part here in the lower stem, which is a change in colour. I've got one of the leaves here. I've got another detail of a very slim stemmed version. I've got a side view here. Now I could add a dissection. I think I have actually got some more parts of this pressed on another sheet. So you could add different views of the flower as well. It's really a very attractive sheet that you could use as a basis for an illustration. So that's what I do, and I'm collecting them up, and eventually I think I'll bind them together. So here's the one that was in the book, which is one of the first ones that I did actually in 2021 of a Primula vulgaris, showing the front and back of flower, different types of flower, different sizes of flower, different leaves, developing seed head. And I didn't include quite as much of them in these days because I wasn't really sure why I was doing them. I just wanted to do them. That's a Pulsatilla vulgaris there, just one flower. And we've got that arrangement on the stem there, and the leaves, the basal leaves, they're a small one and a large one, and a viola here as well. Again, front and back and flower, buds, developing seed but not a seed yet, and the leaf and the stipule there. So it provides quite a lot of information about the plants, and say put the name and the date on as well, and you can add other information, where it came from, and so as much or as little as you want really. I've got some in the press at the moment. I'm going to take them out and have a look at them, and it's always quite exciting because you don't actually know what you're going to get, whether they work or not, how well they work, or whether they just fall apart, which happens sometimes. So this is my flower press. You see it's got these great big bolts going through it, and you have to undo those. So you press them down, and once you've had them in for a while, I leave them in for like 6 months, or sometimes I just completely forget about them and leave them in for a long time. So I've got 2 of these, and I put things in there, and I probably put half a dozen in together, back to back, with cardboard between them, and then tighten them up. And then when they've been in for a while, I tighten them up a bit more with these bolts here. So I'm going to undo those bolts now, and you need to just, it takes a bit tiresome undoing them to get things out, but it's better if you take them off completely and then lift the top off. So here we have what I've just taken out of the flower press. So let's see what we've got. I don't know what's in here, can't remember. And I use blotting paper, blotting type paper, and different types of paper. I put this on like a cartridge paper. And there we have a beautiful viola, and there's some of those Celine flowers there, so I must have pressed them in there because I hadn't got room on the other sheet or something. Really nice arrangement of the viola there, showing different positions of the flower. And you can turn these over, remember, you can lift these off and turn it over, so you've got the front view and the back view. You have to be really careful when you do it to make sure it's all free. and not to break them. So I use a scalpel for that. It's very easy to break them. Okay, so that one, for example, there we go. We've got a front there. Whoops. So I've got a front there and a back here, and I can play around with them and arrange them on the page. Got to develop. They don't belong here, they'll be removed. I've got some petals there. I haven't got the yellow ones, but you can see them anyway. But you can see how I've got quite a few different stages, and actually you've almost got a ready-made composition. So if you wanted to do this one year and then illustrate them the next year or later that year, you've actually got plant material there that you can work with, and you could do line illustrations from them with washes. You could do sketchbook entries with colour, just watercolour and pencil. It's entirely up to you what you do with them. Or you can just keep them and bind them because they're beautiful things to have, or you can frame them. So that's worked out really well. It's retained its colour beautifully. It's still dark, the colours in the flower. I don't know whether that'll fade anymore. It may well do. Got lots of seeds here rolling around as well, which is quite nice. Save them up and put them in a little envelope or something. That's our first one. That's worked out quite well. Sure they won't all, because they don't usually. Oh, there's a beauty. So that's a dog rose, and that's absolutely gorgeous. So got sort of front and back. Got that leaf there with the leaflets, front and back. That's not going to be difficult to arrange. It's already kind of like almost in position, if you like. So I'm going to lift that all off and put it onto a sheet of watercolour paper and mount it on there like I've done the other ones. So there you can see that cardboard I put between them all for cushioning. So yeah, I usually put between like 5 and 6 in the press. Next, it's just a sheet. You have to be very careful when you remove them, as I said, because you don't want to damage them. Oh, look, it's a campanula, and this is obviously a bright blue flower originally. I don't know whether it'll continue to lose. It's completely lost its colour in there. Some flowers do, and it's sort of speckled in here, but we've got nice reproductive parts there. And again, ready-made composition. We've got the upper part of the stem, the lower part of the stem that connects to it, and cutting the stem is a good way of making good use of paper. And then it's got those changing leaves as it comes down the stem, so you've got these sort of linear things here, and then we've started to get these serrations, and then when you get down to the base you've got these almost spoon shaped leaves at the base of the plant only, and that's a new shoot there, that one. Got everything separate. We've got everything you need, so you can make a very nice illustration. The only thing we haven't got is a seed pod, but I've actually got some of those outside at the moment at this time of year, so they could be added to it. They're only very small, but they could be added to it too. And as I said, this can greatly help you with how you compose things on a page, especially if you're looking for a more sort of scientific approach to your layouts. Last one, it's moved a bit, is the astrantia, and that's a gorgeous plant. It's quite a large leaf, so we need to turn it over. It's upside down. And you can arrange parts overlapping like so. Well, this is absolutely lovely, I think. That's the back of it. Oh, look at that. That's fantastic. So again, play around with the arrangement until you're happy with it, just as you would in any composition really. So there's many ways of arranging it, but there you go, you can sort of put it like that on the page and fix that to a sheet of watercolour paper next. So how do you fix it to the watercolour paper? Well, this is not herbarium, this is just my record. You can tape it on using white tape, which you can cut into very fine thin strips. I'm sure you can buy actual tape for that, but I just use what I've got. pH neutral bookbinding glue for any of these jobs, and a small brush to do that, or you can stitch them on. I find that a little bit difficult, so I'm not very good at it. So I'm using Arches hot pressed watercolour paper, 300 grams per square metre. So I use that for all of them. And I actually do a lot of my illustrations on that as well. So make sure you've got the right side up, not that it matters that much, which is the felt side, not the, can't really see that on screen, but it's the felt side and not the mesh side. And so what I do first is take off these very carefully, as I showed you before. Actually, I'm going to do the Astrantia because I think it's a bit bigger to see and easier to see, and there's less chance of me breaking it. So I've got that lovely big leaf, and I've got the leaf stem on it there, which gives me the length of stem. It's very large, I may have to chop a little bit off it. And the flower, I'm going to take that right to the base. I've got this leaf shoot, I might put it up there, I'm not sure. I'll play around with it a while first. And that absolutely gorgeous press front of the flower. There. And then that'll give me room to put my writing down here. So I'm going to do it something like that. So as I said, you can use tape or you can use glue or stitching. If you use glue, obviously you can't take it off, that's it, it's fixed. But if you use tape or stitching, you just take small pieces of tape and tape it on. Make sure it fits. A little bit fiddly when you get the first one on. You can just tape it on like that and then just secure it in different places across the surface. I do kind of like to use glue because I prefer it without the tape really, but the tape is a bit more efficient and we can put it across these points here and across there. So that's, just check which side of the flower we have. Obviously that bit's hidden there a bit by overlapping the leaf, but I'm not too worried about that. Can't really put it any higher. I mean, you could put it on a larger sheet, but I'm just putting mine all on the same size sheets. So kind of like that. That's going to sit just in there, like that. And that's going to sit next to the flower. And that would kind of do, I think, for the presentation of it. Just so you can then translate that into an illustration if you want to. So I'm just going to tape it on for now, and then if I want to glue it I can do that later. I did find my bookbinding glue, which is looking a bit worse for wear. So this is the glue that I would use if I want to fix it permanently, and I have glued the rest of them actually, and it's a bit neater. I'll tape all those up and then I'll write on the name and date on each sheet and put them away in a polythene sheet to keep them clean and stop them getting broken, and then later on I'll probably bind them into a binder to go with the sketchbooks. And that's it really, that's how you do it. It's not a difficult thing to do, it doesn't take very long, you just arrange it on the page like that, put the paper on top of it, put the card between it and put it in your flower press and forget about it for 6 months at least. So here you can see I've finished my page. I've taped on the plant and I've written the name and the date when it was collected on there. Well, the month I put on because I didn't actually write the date down. And here's the page that I did at the same time. Obviously the colour's changed in the plant as it's dried, but that's the page that I did at the time as well. And I particularly like this detail here. There's more that I could have done really, I suppose, but I've got pretty much everything there that I need. But it's a nice addition to the sketch page and also an alternative arrangement on the page. The reason I bend the stem, just to mention that before I sign off here, is that to show the length of it. So if you bend it like that, it shows the full length, but I have cut that one, but I could have bent it, but it was just for my information really, just to show how long those stems were. But when I did the sketch page, I took notes on all the dimensions anyway. So together it's a really good piece of reference material to accompany your sketch pages.